Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's continue. Mm. Never mind, I cannot since I cannot record here, but it's okay. I have a separate recording. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so back to what I said just now. Now I talk about the structure, and okay, and I told you how I think that uh, the atmosphere. When you want to talk about the atmosphere, it's more suitable for you to talk about it in the body paragraph. But still, you can write it in the introductory paragraph, provided that it's not too long. Because remember, your introductory paragraph cannot be too long. Okay? And never mind now, let's just go through this one. The atmosphere of the restaurant was cozy and inviting. So inviting is also an adjective that you can use to describe the ambience of the restaurant or of a cafe. Like the place looks inviting. You know, inviting, right? It just means that the place looks very welcoming. Like maybe the place is very brightly lit. You know, like the lights are all switched on, and then the cafe was vibrantly painted. So all these would also affect like the appearance um, of the restaurant or cafe. So that's why you can say that it looks inviting with warm lighting and wooden decor. And upon being seated, okay, like just now, like when I stood at the entrance, right? But this one, upon being seated, we were greeted by our friendly server, waiter or waitress, who promptly means immediately. It immediately brought out a basket of fresh, warm bread. So normally this bread, normally it is served um, as complimentary meal. Like for example, let's say that you go to a French restaurant. Okay, a French restaurant. Normally in a French restaurant, they would serve you this complimentary bread. Complimentary means is a free bread that comes together with your meals. Okay, and then now we're gonna talk about the menu. Moving on to the menu, I decided to try the the signature steak. Okay, so this one the person skip the menu. So the person did not talk about the menu, like if there is a wide range of food choices. Okay, no, you can just skip. But it's up to you. If you want to talk about the menu, you can. Okay, but this is just an example. I decided to try the signature steak, medium rare ribeye, served with a side of garlic, mashed potatoes, and vegetables. Now you see, not just descriptive, but very very appealing appealing to senses. Like when people read, they can somehow um, visualize it and also somehow like get the hang of the real situation. Now the flavors. You want to talk about the flavors of the food. So how, like for example, this one, how was the rib eye? What does it taste like? So you do not just say, oh, it was delicious, but be more specific with the descriptions. For example, the flavors. When you say that it's delicious, in what way? So for example, there is the flavors. So the flavors were well balanced, and the portion. Yes, this is also one of the things that you can talk about when talking about food. The portion of the food or the size of the food. Like for example, the portion of the rib eye, was it too small or was it in moderate size? Okay, but for this one, the portion size was generous. So the word generous, uh, this is an adjective that you can use to talk about how big, like the size is. The size was generous. So my dining companion means the person that you came to the restaurant with. My dining companion ordered the seafood pasta, which was a medley of shrimp, scallops, and lobster in a creamy tomato sauce. So you just look at the way the food is described here. It's being described here. Okay. Now the seafood was fresh. Now you go in depth, you go more specific. The seafood was fresh and perfectly cooked. Perfectly. Now that is an adverb. And the pasta. Okay, so this is like you can Google later. Which you can also use like this kind of like foreign phrases in your writing. Okay. Okay. Now, in addition to the excellent food, okay, so now you want to use you want to use transitional words or phrases. Remember, we covered already in our first writing lesson. I told you that you have to use all these transitional phrases, all these cohesive devices. So you see, that's the purpose because you don't just use that for a particular piece of writing. You have to use transitional phrases, all these cohesive devices, connectors, linkers across all types of writing. You cannot avoid them. That's why you have to memorize. You have to make sure that you memorize all these transitional words. But um, you have to make sure that you do not just memorize them, but you know how to use them correctly. Because I've seen before, not just my tuition students, but also students at school. I mean, they know the linking words, they know the connectors, they memorize, but unfortunately, they use them wrongly because it's simply memorized without knowing or without mm, finding out what they actually are or the the functions of the connectors are. So be very careful, right? Now, in addition to the excellent food, so now you're signaling to the reader that you're moving on from talking about food to something else, from talking about the food quality. Now, in addition to the excellent food, the service at Delicious Eats was top notch. Again, top notch is also one of the most commonly used adjectives that you can use in writing, but it still is a good adjective. It's not really a common one. Now, our server was knowledgeable. Please do not use server. I do not know why this one keeps on using server. You can use like waiter or waitress. So our waiter was knowledgeable about the menu. Okay, because yes, some waiters or waitresses may not be knowledgeable. Maybe because of some factors like they are new you know, to the work. So they may not be knowledgeable, they may not be experienced. Okay, but so you can talk about that. You can say that the waiter was knowledgeable. In what way? So you can say that knowledgeable about the menu and made good recommendations. So this way, you're telling people that, oh, this is how I know that the waiter was knowledgeable, because the waiter knew about the menu, and that's why the waiter could come up with some recommendations. And he checked on us throughout the meal to make sure we had everything we needed. Okay, so to make sure that the food arrived on time as well, for example. He even offered to refill our drinks before we could ask. And now this also deals with the service. You see, when we talk about the service, is 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 more than just talking about how the waiters treat you in general. For example, oh, the waiters are friendly. You can talk about beyond that. For example, you see, offered to refill drinks, uh, or maybe you can talk about other people's other diners' experience as well. For example, uh, there was a mother with a baby, and the baby was crying loudly, and then you saw that the waiter was very helpful. The waiter approached the lady and offered to hold the baby, for example. Okay, so you can also talk about other people's experiences as well, to include or to add to your own experience. Now, aside from the great food and service, so first you talk about the food, and then you have moved on to the service, and now you're moving on to uh, talking about like the specialty or why this restaurant is different. Now, aside from the great food and service, Delicious Eats also has some unique features that set it apart. That set it apart means that make it different from other restaurants. For example, they have a daily happy hour, but what is it? So you have to be more specific. You have to describe. So it is is a time when the drinks are discounted. Not just drinks, the appetizers are also sold at discounted prices. And they occasionally host live music events. So see, these are also some of the things that you can add um, when you talk about a restaurant. Okay, your experience going to a restaurant. You see many things. So this also deals with your exposure. So you have to read as many samples as possible, because of course I can provide you some samples, but you can also go and look for as many more samples as possible. Okay, so that you can have more ideas on what you can include in your writing. You see, because uh, from one sample to another, we can see like various kinds of ways to describe, for example, this one, a restaurant. And then now, overall, my experience at Delicious Eats was exceptional. Again, you start off with your entire experience first, whether it was pleasant, it was unpleasant, whether it was exceptional, whether it was great or it was not great. That's the first sentence. Then, why you said so. So you just sum everything up. For example, the food was delicious, the service was excellent. Okay, so basically you just summarize everything. Like you summarize this paragraph. The food was delicious, and then the service was excellent, and then the atmosphere was warm and welcoming. Okay, and finally, whether you would recommend it or not. So, with its unique features and high quality dining experience, I highly recommend this restaurant to anyone looking for a memorable dining experience. See, so just stick to this structure. For the last paragraph, I really recommend, or I really suggest that you memorize, that you have all these three sentences. The first one, your overall experience. The second one is the summary of the entire experience. And the last one is your words of recommendation. So make sure you have all these three in your concluding paragraph. Okay? Sorry. So this is a restaurant review. So we have already looked at two samples. There are many other reviews, and I am planning to also come up with this kind of um, like document for all the other sorts of reviews as well. But for now, this is the review. I mean, the sample that you have. You can just stick to this. And this also applies to, I mean, in terms of structure, okay, it also applies to all the other sorts of reviews as well. But now I'm talking about the phrases, like the phrases that you can use in your writing. Of course, when you want to talk about a book review, for example, you cannot use all these phrases, right? So I will come up with other phrases specifically for you to talk about all the other types of reviews. Okay, like the book review, movie review. Um, uh, for our next lesson, I will cover articles, okay? But I will also provide you with the samples for the other uh, types of reviews that I mentioned just now. Because when is your test? I heard that your test is also just around the corner, right? When is your test? For Sri Ahmed? Sri Ahmed. Muhammad Rahman. Oh, next Friday. Next Friday, then then we can cover. Okay, then we can cover article on Monday, and I'll also provide you the samples as well. Okay, the other samples. Um, and if possible, please make sure that you're able to attend physically on next Monday. Okay, so that it will be easier because if you do online, like I mean, if you're not able to attend physically, it's fine. I know that sometimes you have got like limitations, um, but I'm just worried that there's like less control because I cannot see you. I cannot see you, so I do not really know whether you are really involved, in the lesson. Okay, because again, that is the point of the lesson. Okay, for you to understand, not just understand, but for you to strengthen what you have already learned at school. Okay, so my role here is to just help you understand better, or to just provide you more support. Okay, for what you have already built at school, or your teacher has built at school. Okay, so yep. Mm, for since the one that I already gave you just now contains grammatical errors that were committed by the student who wrote, I will fix the grammatical errors first, and then I will send you a new one. Okay, so you can later keep the new one. You can, if you have already saved the previous one, you can delete and keep the new one. Okay, because you know that you have to write grammatically in a grammatically correct way. So make sure that you abide by all the grammar rules as well. Okay. Now before we end the lesson, before I end the lesson, is there any question that you want to ask, or any part of the uh, review writing that you're not sure of? Still have like what, like 7 minutes? Yeah. Please do ask. Okay, if you have anything that you want me to clarify, please ask now. Don't be shy. Nobody has got any question? Or is everything just too clear? No question. Okay, that's good. Kenneth, what about the rest? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you too. Okay. If there is no question and if everything is clear, then I think we can end the lesson now. And again, please make sure that you come or you be present next Monday. Okay, we will cover article writing. All right. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good sleep. Sorry for bothering your weekend. All right.